Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Haley Panagakis with Connect, and I'd like to thank you all for joining us today for Harnessing Social Media to Tap into Diversity Thought Leaders with Simone Morris. Before we get started, I'd like to point out a few features that you can use. You can type in your questions for Simone in the comment box on the left-hand side of your screen. We're planning this to be an interactive session, so Simone will be taking questions throughout and polling through the session, so make sure you're taking advantage of that comment box. We also love getting feedback, so any you send will be appreciated. A recorded version of the session will be available on demand on our website, where you can also find additional webinars for any of you needing those last-minute credit hours for the upcoming CMP test. We'll be sending out an email tomorrow evening with your certificate of attendance as well, so be on the lookout for that. And for any of you who are watching the session on demand and not live, please email me directly, hpanagakis@connectmeetings.com, to receive your certificate. I'll share more information about our upcoming webinars at the end of the program, but we're going to go ahead and get started. I'd like to thank Visit Oakland for making today's presentation possible. Here to speak on the behalf of the CVB is Ronnie Palma. Ronnie, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. We're really excited to sponsor this webinar. We're really excited to present Oakland. We're a really unique and distinct destination. Definitely have personalized service starting from the CVB experience. You'll be working hand in hand with your CVB sales manager and even the hotels. So that's really something that you can't quantify. It's really great here. I think our video itself will be speaking for us. So you'll see how amazing Oakland is, great urban setting with fantastic outdoors. So you can go ahead and roll the video, and hope you guys have a great webinar.
Thank you, Ronnie, and thank you again to Visit Oakland for making today's presentation possible. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Simone Morris. Simone Morris is president and founder of Simone Morris Enterprises, LLC. Her company offers employee engagement consulting, leadership training, career management coaching, and speaking services. She's an award-winning diversity and inclusion leader who has been recognized by Diversity Best Practices and Diversity MBA. Simone is also a published diversity thought leader with content featured in Diversity MBA magazine, profiles in Diversity Journal, Diversity Best Practices, Smart Recruiters, Recruitment Buzz, Employer Brand News, and SocialHire.com. Before branching out on her own, Simone spent 2 decades in corporate America. She has extensive leadership experience and holds a Master's of Business Administration degree from the University of Connecticut. She also holds the Associate Certified Coach credential from the International Coaching Federation, as well as the Certified Project Management Professional distinction from the Project Management Institute. She is also an adjunct faculty member for the American Management Association. And last but not least, it is our honor to have Simone as a speaker at Connect Diversity this year, which is a reverse-style trade show for planners and suppliers focused on multicultural or LGBTQ business in the meetings, events, or sporting events industry. Please join Simone March 27th through 29th at the Mirage in Las Vegas to earn credits toward your CMP and expand your business. You can visit diversitymeetings.com for more details on that. And I think I have spoken enough, so without further ado, Simone, whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Haley. I appreciate it, and I'm honored to be here as well. And may I say, because the topic is social media, that I have been very impressed by the promotions for this event. I could barely keep up, but we'll talk about that in this session today. And Haley, I think all you needed was some music after that Visit Oakland video. Anyway, I'm excited to be here, and welcome to the Harnessing Social Media to Tap into Diversity Thought Leaders webinar. I had a great time at last year's Connect Faith event, so I knew that this would be a top-notch webinar, and I'm looking forward to presenting to you all today. Haley already talked to you about my bio. What I will just say is if you want to reach me after this webinar, you can easily find me at my website or on any of the various social media sites that are listed. Or if you've lost the presentation and you just look up my name, you should be able to reach me. In terms of experience, just speaking on the topic of social media, what I will say is in my past life, I was a digital technologist, and what I did was work with creative agencies and marketing teams in launching their social media strategies for branded websites and their social media campaigns. So that, mixed with my diversity background, I felt this was a good topic to chat about. Every time I speak, I like to think that the outcome from speaking would be that my audience learns something new, they are inspired, and they take at least one action from what they have learned. And of course, I also like for them to have fun. So hopefully you will have a good time today. Today's agenda, really I wanted to talk to you about the importance of having a social media strategy, even just a basic one, and then talk to you about tools and techniques that you can use to find diversity thought leaders through social media. So that's what it's planning on covering today. Now, in terms of social media strategy, the social media landscape is just so cluttered and just so many things for you to get a handle on that in terms of time management and being effective in sharing your messaging via social media, it is crucial to have a social media strategy in place. It just really saves you time and again lets you get the biggest bang for your buck. But let's look at some of the statistics here on the next slide. Right now, 3.17 billion people, users, are using the internet 2.3 billion of those are active users on social media. And just in the last year, that has risen by over 176 million plus. Now, if you think about people who are using their mobile devices, there are 1 million new active mobile social users added every day. So, you know, being online is the place to be, clearly. I want to run a brief quiz. I'm going to ask Haley for some help here. And the question it's going to ask you really is, how many of you are active on social media today? So there is a poll. Let's just take a minute and see of the folks that are on the line. We've got about 65 people online. Let's see how many people are using social media. And right now it's looking like a lot, like the majority. Let's give it a minute so everyone can vote. Okay. Well, I think I will stop the voting now because we get the gist of what's showing by a landslide. We're seeing that most people, and thank you for typing your answer on the left. Is that Mamai? I'm not sure. Thank you for typing your answer over there. I see it quickly. But yeah, we see that most people are using it every day, and that is a great thing. Now, when you think about the landscape, and I don't know if you've had visibility to a landscape like this one, every year the landscape is updated, and this is a great image that shows how vast social media is. According to Wikipedia, there's over 200 active social media sites. I mean, you know, sometimes when people think of social media, they think of just the top three, the Facebook, the Twitter, the LinkedIn, but there is so much more that is available, and you can spend all of your time trying to manage these sites if you don't do a stop and think about where you want to be, where your users are, where the people who you want to reach are, what content it is you want to share, how do you want to manage your image online. You give some thought to that and you include that in a social media strategy. So the aim here really was to show you that it's a huge world out there, even though your line of sight may be 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 or so social media sites. There's so much more out there that's available, and it is really difficult to keep a good handle of it. I wanted to draw your attention to these top 6 sites. I'm proud to say that I have an account on all of these sites, though I favor some sites more than others, but these are the top social media sites. You know, I showed you the over 200. I think the list was 212, but these are the top 6 sites that are used, and you notice that Facebook just blows everyone else out of the water with 1.5 billion monthly active users. And I think some of the folks voting that's saying they're using it actively, that might be a Facebook account that's on your mobile device. So Facebook sort of has the lock on the social media market in terms of users. Then you have LinkedIn with 380 million users worldwide using this professional Facebook, if you will, just a business-oriented site to get their message across, whether it's sharing or reading or looking for a job or, you know, reading about different organizations that's available. And then you have Twitter. I mean, Twitter is just taking the forefront. If you think about the political environment and what's going on right now, it's just this fast-paced microblogging site that has almost 300 million users, but the speed of information that's fire hosed at you. Look at this number, 9,100 tweets happen every second. Every second. And I remember, just knowing the power of that social media site. When Whitney Houston died, the news came out on Twitter before it hit CNN or any of the news outlets. So much news, just because everybody has the quick access to tweet something, shows up on Twitter first. But the idea here is to show you that you can cull down that big map that we just saw on the previous slide down to something more manageable if you have the top 6 sites that are out there, and you have some sort of presence across that, and you spend some time thinking about your messaging, which we'll talk about the components of a social media strategy in a minute or so. You sort of stop, think, and put together a strategy, you're more effective in playing in the social media space. Haley, if you can help me out with the quiz, the second quiz. If you could take a minute to vote and just sort of give me some feedback, at least on who's playing where in the different social media sites, that would be helpful. Let's spend a minute with that. Okay, we can go ahead and stop the poll. We see that it's good to see that there really wasn't anyone in the none of the above space, which was good. And I'm seeing on the left that there are quite a few of you who have all of them, which is great. And, I would be curious to hear how you're managing the all of them. We will talk about a tool that you can use to manage all of them. But again, it's nice to see that there is 0% of you in the none of the above, and so that you are one of those billions of people that are playing in the space, and most of you are using it daily, as we saw from the previous poll. So thank you so much for participating and even sending the messages on the left-hand side. That is appreciated. Let's close this out. So it's a social media strategy and what is included in a social media strategy. Here are some buckets that can be included in your social media strategy. And we will go into each of these buckets in detail, but at a high level, you have goals, audience, landscape, content and timing, and accountability. When we think about goals, what are goals for being on social media? Do you want to have a presence? I should have done a survey to ask how many people Google themselves to see what comes up. Has anybody Googled themselves? You can just type on the left-hand side. I'll just be curious to see if you often Google yourself to see what comes up for your name. Great. That's a wonderful thing to do. Awesome, the person that did that this morning. That's a wonderful thing to do because it gives you an idea of what others can see about you and your presence online. And if you're not doing it, I would recommend that you do Google yourself to see what comes up. And it's nice because if there's any negative messaging that's out there, then you can fix it. You can reach out to the site and say, hey, I Googled and what is this about? Or you can have a response to it should you be asked about it. So it's effective to Google yourself. So you may be online to have a presence. You may be seeking new business opportunities. You may be looking for speakers or vendors to source for your meetings. You may have a brand, a personal brand, or even your organization brand. You may want to build up customer loyalty by having that presence online. So there are various reasons why people are on social media. As part of your strategy, you want to ask yourself, why am I out here? What is my goal? What is my objective? And then you want to really hone in on your audience. You want to find out where your audience hangs out, or better understand the demographics and the demographics of each of the different social media sites. There is a social media study by the Pew Research. The organization is called Pew, P-E-W, Pew Research. And they put together information that can tell you, okay, say you're trying to reach people that make a certain amount of dollars, then they can tell you. I was surprised to see that Facebook has people who make the most money, but then I guess it makes sense because the most users are on there. So if you had something high priced, there might be additional criteria that you need to consider. You may want to put the messaging on Facebook. The second site with the highest income level of the users was LinkedIn. So you may want to keep that in mind, just like if you have a event that you want to promote and you think about putting it in a meeting magazine or a specific magazine to target an audience, you want to think about that when you're doing your social media strategy. Where is the best vehicle for my message? It might not be just the sites that you are active on. It might be other sites. For example, if you really want to target women, you may decide to put something on Pinterest because women, the largest female usage is on the Pinterest website. So think about your audience and your reach and where you need to be, and that's the next thing you would think about in your strategy. Understand the landscape. We spent a little bit of time talking about landscape just now. We looked at the bigger picture and then narrowed it down to the top sites, but understand the social media landscape and choose where you're going to play in that landscape. One of the effective things to do is to have an editorial calendar. I don't know if anyone creates an editorial calendar. For those people who put all of them or on the left, if you want to tell me if you do use an editorial calendar. And an editorial calendar is just really it could be an Excel spreadsheet where you just sort of think about your strategy and your content that you're going to put out there. Where is it going to be? What am I actually going to put out there? Where am I going to get the information from? What is my frequency of sharing the information? And you track that so that you know what you're doing online. And in some cases, there may be an approval process that has to happen where some organizations have a social media strategy in place and there's a certain way that they want their employees to act or even post content on behalf of their organization on a social media site. So you might need clearance. So perhaps that's another column that you put in, that it's been cleared to publish and you publish that content. But if you look at what's on the current slide, slide 15, you might put an ad for your meeting or your event as your LinkedIn status update. Whereas if you're looking for speakers, you may want to narrow it down and go into a LinkedIn group and put a message, a call to action in a LinkedIn group to find speakers. or you could share articles on Twitter. You just think about what are you trying to share? What is the content that you're trying to share? And you push that, you track that content so you have a good handle on, for the year, for the quarter, this is what I plan to do. And even if you're running a contest or a promotion, if you think about the whole picture, then it's more effective to execute against that strategy. And this is just all a little extra. I'll jump into the diversity thought leaders and this information shortly. And just with any goal that you set, any SMART goal, I don't know if you're familiar with the term SMART, with specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound for goal setting. If you have any SMART goal, you want to make sure that someone is holding you accountable to get this stuff done. And I mentioned it can be overwhelming, so some folks have outsourced this work to vendors to manage this for them to make sure it gets done. But, you may have a team. You may have a team that's working with the information. It may not just be one person managing the social media content, and someone might be the one responsible to ensure that, yep, it got out there. So just make sure you have an element of accountability to ensure that this gets done. I'm not seeing any questions about strategy. I ran through that rather quickly, so let me know if there are any questions around strategy. And I think what the point was is that it's effective and a good use of time to have a strategy in place. I spoke about strategy at a high level, and at a basic level, there's lots more details to a strategy. And in fact, one of the things you can even think about is, in your strategy, is how do I respond to what comes at me online? So I'm engaging with my customers or others that I'm trying to reach, but what if there's something negative out there? How are we going to handle it as a team? And just planning for that. We will move on to tools that you can use to find thought leaders in the social media space. There are tools. This tool, HootSuite, I don't know if anybody's using HootSuite. I know some people use TweetDeck, which is Twitter specific, but HootSuite, I think it's a great tool. I don't know if anyone's ever used it, but it's a great tool to manage your different social media networks across the board. It allows you to set up a free account, and you can add your different social media sites on there, and then you can go in and you can update status and share information in this one dashboard setting, as opposed to signing into various tools. It works well with your strategy, because you can look at scheduling. You can schedule out whether it's tweets or updates that you're putting out there. And then Klout is going to be another one where Klout allows you to check influence online. So here is an example of the dashboard for HootSuite. At the top left-hand side are the different profiles that I have online, some of them that I'm managing via this HootSuite. So I decided that I want to put an update out. I put my message over on the right-hand side with a link to the webinar today, and then I check off where I want to publish it. And then if I do send now, it's hitting the site without me having to sign into Twitter. So I could very easily I could very easily highlight my Twitter, my Facebook page, my LinkedIn business page, and send that all with one click. So it is a very effective tool to use in sharing content. In terms of finding diversity thought leaders, the nice thing that I like about HootSuite is that you can add what's called a stream. What you can do is type in keywords to search. So you click on Add Stream, and then you go ahead and type in the keywords that you're looking for, and you link it to an account. And what will happen is you'll have a stream of that content. So you could have diversity and inclusion and have a list that's just showing any message regarding diversity and inclusion that's coming up in the social media space. Let's say you chose Twitter. So you'd see anything with diversity and inclusion in that stream. And then you can see who's posting it, and you would have to do a bit of mining where you're clicking that person's name and sort of seeing, hey, is this a reputable person? Other people retweeting the content that's out there? And that might be someone that you want to connect with as a thought leader for your meeting. That's one example. Now, Klout is great. Oh, someone asked the question, is there a fee for HootSuite that I see? And the answer to that question is you can have a free account for up to 3 of your social media networks. And then if you want to get more comprehensive, sharing information across a team and adding more social networks to it, then there is a fee. When I checked, it was $9.99 a month. So you're talking about $120 for the year if you sign up for it, but you can use it free. I do know that, as opposed to the TweetDeck is specific for Twitter, managing your Twitter posts that are going out there, whereas HootSuite goes across the board with the different networks. So I was using it for a while just free. So try it out, free service for a couple of your networks, see how you like it. And then if you want to do more, it actually pops up as you try to add more to say you need to subscribe. But it's pretty cheap. It's $9.99 a month. Hope that answers your question, Leslie. Okay, next slide is Klout. Klout is what is a person's influence online. And what they do is they score from 0 to 100. And the more you're connecting, you're sharing, talking online, and people are retweeting you, or they can give you what's called cred, points, if you will, for your messaging, your score goes up. So in terms of finding these thought leaders, once you find these people, let's say you've got this list from HootSuite because you've done that stream and you're seeing people come up, you then come over to Klout and you say, let me look up this person. Okay? I look up this person and they have a Klout score of 80. Wow, this is a top-notch expert and very influential. This might be someone we want to have as a keynote for our next meeting or our event. So that's one way that you can use it. And I actually used this when I wrote an article for diversity best practices. I had to find who the thought leaders were on Twitter for diversity. And I used Klout to really see how people were stacking up with their ranking. And it really is a nice tool to see how influential people are online. Once you set up an account, this is also free. Once you set up an account, it actually allows you to post content directly from Klout. It suggests articles. I don't always agree with the articles that come up that are suggested, but it's in terms of sourcing content for your strategy, it's one way to get content, because that can be difficult to do. You're looking across the various sites, just trying to pull together, what do I want to share other than updates about my events? What does my audience care about? And so you're looking for content, and this is one way to find content. And again, it's another way to look at the experts out there and what their influence is, and this is online based in terms of influence. In terms of techniques, there are certain sources in the diversity world that are considered experts in the space, And in terms of finding these thought leaders, these are sources that you would go to find them. Diversity Inc. is a top organization that they actually do a survey every year, and they survey companies to find out the top companies for diversity. And I'm going to go into that in the next slide, just how you can use that information and find leaders as well. Diversity practices, best practices, is based in New York City. They also do a survey. They do Working Mother, National Association of Female Executives. They do multicultural events and such. So there's a place that you can go to find speakers. If you have an organization geared towards females and you're looking for female-centric speakers, you could possibly look at diversity best practices and find speakers from that angle. I'm going to talk about LinkedIn, a little bit more about Twitter, and also conferences. So I had mentioned Diversity Inc. having a top 50 list. There are over, I want to say the number's around 1,600 or so companies that apply for this list, and they narrow it down. It's a pretty harrowing exercise to apply for this list, and it's a coveted list to be on. Anyway, what this list is telling us, and this is a 2016 list, usually it comes out in the March-April timeframe every year. What this is telling us is that Kaiser Permanente is an organization that does very well in terms of diversity and inclusion. And in terms of finding best practices, they do a very good job. So if I was putting on an event and I wanted speakers, I could look at this list and I could click the link. All you would need to do really is go to diversityinc.com and look for the top 50 list. And I would click on the link, and then what happens is they give an example of the company, a blurb about the company, the CEO's name, the Chief Diversity Officer's name, and what made them win this award. So I could go to this site, click the link, find out who I'll use the term CDO, which means Chief Diversity Officer, find out who the CDO is, and then I could look up the CDO on Klout. Remember, we just talked about Klout, so I could look at the CDO's influence. Presumably it's up there, but their influence might be in their environment, so don't hold that against them too much. But you could use that to vet a list of speakers that you want in the diversity and inclusion space. So you can see there's some pretty top-notch companies here in terms of the work that they're doing, but the list goes up to 50, and it's comprehensive, lots of good information there for you to see. And I had mentioned Twitter. If you go to diversitybestpractices.com, every year they do a list of who are the diversity thought leaders leading the way on Twitter. And they do a process, as I had mentioned previously, that I had written for them before. Excuse me, but this was an article really talking about who should we be following, who are the key keynoters or influencers. In this example, it's talking about Twitter, but you can find out information even by the people writing for Diversity Best Practices. They have a blog, or you can follow them on Twitter. You could follow Diversity Best Practices on Twitter and look at the content and the people that are sharing information under that organization, and that will give you an idea about who these thought leaders are that you can connect with. I brought up this screen. This is actually LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great place to find business leaders, even diversity thought leaders. In my experience, the place online that diversity thought leaders hang out in is LinkedIn and Twitter. There is some presence on Facebook, but what I have found is that the majority are really sharing in the Twitter conversation and also sharing in different groups on the LinkedIn platform. There are some on Facebook, but I didn't find as much on Facebook. There are some infographics or graphics that you can find on Pinterest, but again, I mostly found these thought leaders in LinkedIn and in Twitter. So here you have a screen capture for LinkedIn. When you go to LinkedIn, if you look at the top, I've typed in the search diversity and inclusion for my keywords to search for. When you search for diversity and inclusion, you come up with 302 results. What I want to draw your attention to is there are groups that have a huge list of members. So if you look at this global diversity and inclusion in the workplace, this has almost 19,000 members participating. Down here, diversity, a world of change, 27,000 members. Diversity professionals, 14,000 members. So you're seeing these are groups that you may want to advertise in. If you have a call for speaker for diversity thought leaders, you may want to post a message in any of these areas with what you are looking for, and then you get a good response. You know, I'd say the larger the group, the more likely to get a response. And I'll give you an example of me using this. When I first started out in the D&I space, I put a message out on the Diversity, a World of Change group on LinkedIn. And I put a message basically asking people about, hey, I'd like to write for a diversity and inclusion magazine. Does anyone know how you go about doing that? Or are there any tips for doing that? And I actually met someone where we ended up collaborating on an article together, and that really gave me a leg up on doing freelance writing. Now, that's my example, but I just say that to say that it works, and that whatever your request might be, leverage the groups on LinkedIn to put your request out there and see what feedback you get. Another thing that you can do is really see who's actually posting messages, because those people could be thought leaders for you to leverage. And when you find them, again, you go back to the Klout, or even you can follow them on Twitter or whatever social media site they may be on. You could follow them and see what are they saying. Is this something that may speak to my audience? Is this someone I may want to work with or collaborate with? Let me just pause for a minute and ask if there are any questions. Okay. So here is where I was talking about going into the site, going on LinkedIn, going into the group, the large group, large number, almost 28,000 members here, typing your conversation in the space where it says start a conversation with your group. Now, if you look on the right-hand side under members, what's nice is that you can see the people who are having the top conversations in the group. So these people might be thought leaders that you want to interact with or engage with. I may say, listen, this is Joe over here. Click Joe's information, find out he has his own company. Maybe he speaks on unconscious bias, and I want to use unconscious bias. I want to do a roundtable at my conference on unconscious bias. And so Joe may be someone I want to have as a speaker. Hey, I'm going to click his information, maybe send him a in-mail message on LinkedIn, or maybe I'm going to check him out some more, vet him a bit more. I'm going to look on Twitter. I'm going to look on across the various social media sites, see what I can find out. Maybe I'll just even Google him and see what comes up about him, and then decide if I want to further engage. So this is a great tool to use to connect with thought leaders. Another place to look is on LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn bought SlideShare. SlideShare is an online place where people can share their presentations. And when you look up diversity and inclusion, you get quite a bit of results. If you can see up here, this is almost 270,000 results. And when we look at someone like Joel Gerstand, who's a thought leader in the D&I space, you can see that he's posted this presentation, The Future of Diversity and Inclusion, the 5 Next Practices. And he posted this for the Society for Human Resource Management Conference in 2015. He spoke there. There's 107 slides and lots of likes. So this might be a person I want to engage in, and I can take a look at his work. I can click that and look at the information, and again, find out more about Joe and if this is someone I want to engage with. If your topic is not D&I, you could put whatever your topic is, let's say unconscious bias or gender diversity. You put your topic into the search bar up here and see what comes up, and then see who's having conversations, who's sharing content that could be relevant to your meeting or event, or even could be a vendor planners might want to work with. This is Twitter. When I go into Twitter and I search diversity and inclusion, I see people that are coming up for diversity and inclusion. I hit the people button and I see people that are coming up. I'm probably there because this is my profile. But then you can look at other people. See, here's Joe again. Joe comes up, right? Mary Frances Winters. She's another thought leader in the D&I space. And then I may drill down and find out additional information on her and how I want to engage with her. Now, I had mentioned Facebook is a bit light. When you look at Facebook, you see this is what comes up. Diversity best practices. They have a page out there that you can find information about diversity and inclusion. There is this diversity page out there as well, but it's just very random, and it's based in the UK. And I'm not sure if you want to mine through over 1 million. Well, it's over 1 million likes for this page, so it's obviously very popular, but the information may not be as business focused as you might like. But here's Diversity Inc. again. So Diversity Inc., you go there and check out their page and what content they're sharing. So there's various places to find who you're looking for in social media. What I want to leave you with today, though, really is the importance of having an effective social media strategy. If only you have a basic strategy, or you take one action and you really spend the time sitting down and thinking about your audience, what your goals are, the content and timing of your strategy, and just really put that together and give some thought to that, that would be a good thing for you. I think that you would find that you would save some time in doing that. If you use some of the different tools that we covered HootSuite, we talked about Klout, that you can use that. And then you use some of the different techniques to look at different sites. Look at different sites that we mentioned, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, that you can use to find diverse talent. So let me stop there and leave a little time for questions.
Hey, Simone, we had a question earlier. If, say, your business wants to become a thought leader on social media, do you have any tips for that, or how would you go about doing that?
Sure. So if I want to become a thought leader in the social media space, one of the things that I want to do is I want to see who's out there, who's my hero out there online, so to speak, and what are they doing. So I can look at leaders in the space and where do they have a presence? What social media sites do they have a presence on? And how do I engage? I may even reach out to a leader like Joe. I had just mentioned Joe. I may reach out to Joe and say, listen, I'm new and I want to really build up my presence in the space. And I noticed that you're doing a great job. I even checked out your Klout score, and it's clear that you're very influential. What do you suggest where do you think I should start? What was your experience? And my experience is that people are very generous with sharing about their journey and willing to give you tips on how you can move forward in the space. But I would, if you're not on Twitter, I would say I would start a Twitter account. And then I would look up the topic that I want to be a thought leader in, and I would participate in a conversation. I don't have to be sharing in terms of writing my own content, but I would respond to content that has been shared and ask a question or make a comment, and so that you become versed in what that's like. And, you take baby steps until you get a bit more comfortable, and then maybe you start sharing your own content. I hope that answers. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, Simone, I think that was great. We also had another question. How do you deal with the naysayers on social media? Like, say, as far in regards to diversity, like say it's an LGBTQ event or somebody who has to deal with that kind of stuff on a regular basis. What's your strategy for that?
Well, I think number one is that you don't ignore it, because if you ignore it, it doesn't go away. It could just spread, and the person can become angry and just continue to probe you to get a response from you. So you acknowledge it, and you sort of, I think with anything, just from a coaching standpoint, ask the question, try to understand where the person is coming from. What makes you say that? It helped me to better understand your perspective. That's a big thing in diversity and inclusion, is really understanding that we are all different. We don't necessarily need to agree, but we can be respectful. So perhaps asking a question to the naysayer, help me to understand your perspective, what makes you say that? And I think people just want to be heard. And certainly if someone is getting really, really nasty and you can't control it, and you just take it offline and you say thank you for your perspective. At this point I'm going to exit this conversation, and if you'd like to continue offline, that would be great. And you sort of end it, because as you continue to respond, you need to realize that your audience is watching your response, and it can very easily get out of hand. So I would say do not ignore it, acknowledge it, try to see if you can resolve it and better understand the perspective. And if you see that it's taken a turn to continue to be even more negative, you just shut it down. You just say, thanks for engaging with me in the social space, really appreciate it. Want to better understand, let's take this offline. And you take this offline and you say, send me a direct message or something like that, and you just control it a bit more.
I think that's great, Simone. That's all the questions that I had come in on my end. So if anybody has any additional questions for Simone, please send them in now.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity to share with this group, and I appreciate the feedback. and the opportunity to speak with you. And I hope that I'll see some of you at the Diversity Conference in Las Vegas. And thank you so much for everything, Haley. I also appreciate that as well.
Yes,
and I'll turn it back over to you,
Simone.
Haley.
Yes, thank you so much for speaking with us today. Love your insights, and we really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to speak with us. So I'm just going to wrap everything up. You can learn about Connect's past and upcoming webinars on all of our websites, which are listed on your screen. You'll receive, as I said before, you'll receive an email tomorrow with your certificate of attendance for the session. Again, if you're watching on demand, please email me for your certificate. It's not going to come to you automatically. So if you have any questions or if you need your certificate, please email me at hpanagakis@connectmeetings.com, also on your screen so you don't have to spell it. We hope you will join us on February 9th for One Man Can't Expand, How to Build, Train, and Maintain a Team of Reliable Volunteers, presented by Janice Anderson, which was really another great session. You'll be able to register for that session tomorrow on our website as well. I'm just going to finish by talking about our events. As you can see by this very cluttered slide that I did on purpose, we have a lot going on in 2017, and there's something for everyone, and we'd love for you to join us. So if you'd like to learn more about specific dates or where they're being held, you can visit connectmeetings.com/events, or you can contact Michael Vada at mvada@connectmeetings.com, and he can assist you as well. Well, everyone, thank you so much for attending this session. We really appreciate it, and we hope you all have a great day.
Thank you.